Okay, hi everyone. I'm Deborah Gerritsen, and I'm going to be discussing the 6 ways every learning professional should be using video. So to begin with, I just want everyone to just imagine a star employee. Perhaps they're on your L&D team, maybe they're in sales, marketing, engineering. Maybe they're that person that everyone goes to when they have a question, or that person that they want to be their mentor. Maybe it's someone relatively new to the company, but they have that leadership quality and that raw talent you're looking for. And then maybe one day they or their manager comes to you and says, "I'm afraid I accepted an offer at another company." At that point, you are scrambling to make sure you capture all of their experience, all of their institutional knowledge before they go, not only to preserve that at your company, but also to onboard the new person. So now that I've set the suspense, I'm going to be covering the 6 main use cases that you can be employing now for learning. And this is going to be based on experience from working with companies such as Tableau, Qualcomm, HSBC, Diageo, and even from my own company. I'm also going to be covering 5 technology trends that are going to help you use video. Okay, so now I'm going back to the offboarding. So now this example is actually from my own company. The person in this slide here is named John. He was a software engineer and one of the first employees at Panopto. So when he told us he was leaving, we had 2 weeks to capture all of the experience and knowledge of someone who's been with us from the beginning. So we had 2 approaches we could have taken. We could have, of course, used possibly text. So that could be emails, maybe creating a handover document, or we could have used meetings. Now, these are all great ideas, but they both propose some problems. First, to create a document that's high enough quality to be any value, that takes a lot of time, and for the most part, they're not read. No offense. Next, meetings are also great, but they're ephemeral. You're going to forget what you talked about that day or the next day. So we took a third approach, reused videos and re-recorded everything. So how we did this was, first, we identified a few responsible parties that were going to be taking on his responsibilities temporarily. And then we started to do a whiteboarding session. You can see in this picture here, in our very imposing setup, we used a webcam and we used a laptop. That's all you need nowadays to create high quality video. So not only did we capture John doing whiteboarding sessions, we also captured the people taking on his responsibilities questions. We also did meetings. We called them brain transfers or lunch and learn meetings, but we recorded this whole session as well. And so John was able to discuss the code he used, the architectural models he chose, and why, and then they could be used to review later. We also had John record at his own desk. So we had him capturing his screen, we had him capturing his video and audio to discuss what was learned in the whiteboarding sessions as well as the meetings. Oops, clicked a little too far ahead. So at the end of the 2 weeks, we captured over 40 hours of video. So this was very important because, one, this helped the people who were temporarily taking on his responsibilities as a reference guide. 2, it also helped us maintain the experience and knowledge at the institutional level. And most importantly, when we did get around to hiring John's replacement, they had the most comprehensive onboarding guide they have ever seen. Okay, so now we just talked about offboarding, which I think brings us into now onboarding. And so I don't need to belabor the point of why onboarding or induction is important. So I'm just going to talk about how we can make it better. So onboarding was a challenge that the Seattle-based analytics firm Tableau was facing. They were experiencing phenomenal growth. They grew from 400 employees to 1,200 employees in less than a year. The big part of their growth was for their development team. So they needed to get a raft of new developers up to speed as fast as possible. Actually, within 30 days or less was the task. They started with a very small step. They recorded their 2-day instructor-led training seminar. This helped because one, new hires didn't have to sit around and wait for a face-to-face meeting. They were able to then use the video as reference and go along and learn for themselves. They also were able to start learning through imitation. So one of the great things they did as well was the developers would sit down with one screen, watching a how-to video, and then on the other screen, they would actually have the software open. And so they were actually learning through imitation, which did not take any extra employees' time on training. This worked so well that they expanded this throughout their organization to actually help train maybe non-technical staff, such as sales reps or marketing, by having engineers just make some informal videos as well. Another use of onboarding is to introduce new employees. So if you see on the screen this beautiful introduction email, and the ones in the back, if you can't read it, I think we all know what an introduction email looks like. So the problem with this is, although it's a very nice gesture, a lot of people don't read it, and if you do, it's very flat. You really don't get an understanding of who this person is. And so what companies have started to do, such as our own, of course, is create video introductions. So what you do is you get an employee to make a 2 to 3 minute presentations on themselves, and then you send that out across the organization. What's great about this is, one, people actually watch the video. Two, it also establishes a connection and empathy. This is very important when you're in a huge company, or even in my own company. For example, I have to work with people in our Seattle office, Hong Kong office. I will never meet these people, but I've seen their video, and so I know who they are, and it makes it easier to work together because you're not a nameless email, you're a person. And actually, one of the biggest benefits was not just for new hires to be introduced to us, was that the new hire had a whole video library of all the employees at the company, so they can get to know you as well as the company culture as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about social learning. So for learning leaders, the biggest value of social learning is arguably the ability to scale efforts incredibly cost effective. This approach really makes sense if you have subject matter experts across your organization. So for example, let's say you have a company of 5,000 people, and you just ask each of them to create a 5 to 10 minute video on something that they're a subject expert in. You just required a video library of 5,000 videos that you can use as mini training modules at zero incremental cost. So I just want everyone to think about that. You just ask people in your company, your employees, to make a small video on what they're a subject matter. Maybe they're a security expert. Maybe they're an expert on Salesforce. You have just created your own training library. Now, you might not expect a law firm to be a huge player in social learning, but this is exactly what Perkins Coie did. So they have offices, I think over 19 offices across the globe, mainly in the US and Asia. And they asked over 1,000 of their lawyers to be a part of this. So they were kind of experimenting with video at first, but what they decided to do was obviously not boil the ocean trying to dive straight into social learning. They started just to record their meetings, because obviously people are on different time zones. This then expanded into them starting to create their own video content that all lawyers could create no matter what office, and then share with each other to share best practice, compliance, things that they were doing. Another great example of this was that HR was able to get a hold of this. And so instead of creating these aren't their high-end compliance annual videos, they were able to create small videos such as benefits, your pension plan, and easily disseminate that across the countries to share this with the lawyers. Next, I'm going to touch on mobile learning, and obviously video and mobile go hand in hand nowadays. I can see everyone's smartphones out and iPads. So now this is a really good example. So this is an example of a printer company. So it's a printer manufacturer that have repairmen that come on site to obviously service your printers. So how they used to do this was they would actually carry around a pile of manuals. Well, this proposes quite a few problems. Firstly, carrying around manuals is cumbersome. Also, they go out of date really quickly. So instead, they just go on site using their iPhone, iPad, and accessing their video library. So what you can see on our screen is Panopto's inside video search. So all the technicians needed to do was put in the model number of the printer. So anywhere, not just in the title, anywhere that number was spoken, captured on a slide, captured on a screen, it was time-stamped and searchable so they can get to the exact moment of the video they needed to. And so instead of having to carry around these manuals, they could just use their iPhones. So the next way you could be using video to enhance your business might be through executive messaging. Now, for the most part, I bet some of you are either going to a studio or maybe bringing the studio to you. You might be using videographers, possibly editors. This is a long production process. This is not the type of executive messaging I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. You or your CEO, a webcam, your laptop, hey, maybe it's just your iPhone. So the person on screen here is Stanley Young. He headed up the New York Stock Exchange Tech. He realized he frequently gained insights or had valuable knowledge to share. He wanted to do this, he wanted to share this with his employees. However, he felt that email was kind of too formal or maybe not even personal enough, and were people actually even internalizing what he was sending. So he decided to start doing this through video. So he just used his laptop and a webcam. He would create the video and then he would share it with his employees. This has absolutely raised the bar on executive transparency. Not only that, he encouraged all of his employees to do the same. He explicitly said, no matter what your rank or job is in this company, you can do this. You can share your knowledge the way I have. Now, something else you're already doing is capturing video. But are you really capturing at scale? Are you really capturing every brown bag lunch, every guest speaker, every training event or day? Funny enough, universities are doing that today, capturing everything. And Panopto, we work with over 600 universities, and 20 of which are in the top 20 universities in the world. And they actually capture everything. An example of this is the University of Essex, who's obviously UK-based. They captured in 2016 100,000 hours of video. And also the University of Arizona captures 3,000 hours of video per week. So this is extensive. So when you build a library this big, there's going to be value for all of your employees there. And it's searchable, and it's very cost effective. So that's just a great way of showing that. I'm going to give an example of this on a corporate level with the company Qualcomm. So Qualcomm Academy holds around 600 instructor-led training seminars annually, not counting all their guru lunches or brown bag. They used to hire an AV crew to do this. This had 3 problems. 1, it's extremely expensive. 2, it's a long production time. This could take weeks. 3rd, it was very hard to edit or make any changes. They eventually brought this in-house using Panopto. This helped eliminate those issues as 1, very inexpensive, 2, their videos could be ready in hours rather than weeks. And also, they could make changes at any time. And so this really improved the way that they engaged with training and encouraged them to actually record more of their content. Okay, so those were the 6 ways every learning professional should be using video. Just to recap on that, we talked about capturing knowledge of exiting employees, onboarding, social learning, mobile learning, executive communication, and then capturing video at scale. So now I'm going to briefly talk about top 5 trends in the market with video. The rise of the corporate YouTube. It sounds exactly as it is. Basically, it's a corporate YouTube, except this one's actually secure and built for in-use within your company. So it's like, this is sometimes called a VCMS or a video content management system. So basically, if you're looking to simplify the way you manage your video assets, your library, this is the way to do it because it's pretty much all automated, it's searchable. Now, you're probably saying, well, why do I need this video library in-house? Well, I recommend if you guys want to do this now, go to YouTube. Search things like compliance training. Maybe search events such as your roadmap, maybe a roadmap or things like that. You will find content that has been made public that should not be made public outside of your organization. And so it's important to keep your library, your institutional knowledge in-house where it's secure and all of your employees can access. So it's easy for them to view the roadmap that maybe was not meant to be viewed externally. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about inside video search. So searching video content is like doing research in a library. First, you have to find your book, then you need to find the content within the book. But traditionally, people haven't been able to do this in video because of tagging. Don't worry, the future is here. We don't need this anymore. So there are three main problems with tagging. First, it requires people to think. Two, it takes a lot of tags to find the exact video you're looking for. The University of Minnesota sampled over 800,000 YouTube videos, and they found on average it takes 9 tags. So let's just say there are 9 to 10 tags per video. That's not a very efficient way to find your content. Also, tagging only takes you to the start of the video. Also, actually a little funny anecdote as well, is that Microsoft used to have a team that was just dedicated to tagging and categorizing their videos. It's insane to think about that now, but it was happening. So even if your video is well tagged, like I said, it only takes you to the start of the video. So think about it as you went and you got a book, but there was no table of contents. So you literally have to flip page by page to find what you're looking for. Or even in a video, you literally have to scroll. With Panopto Search, with the Panopto Smart Search, any word spoken, written, is captured and timestamped. So this is called Smart Search. It encompasses automatic speech recognition, optical character recognition, slide ingestion, and the indexing of transcripts. So that means that your employee can go to the exact moment of that video for real on-demand learning. I won't go into too much more detail, but I'm at stand S6 if you would like to test this out yourself. It is quite exciting. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about DIY learning videos. So this has become really popular because there's been a lot of changes as hardware and software has made a lot of improvements over the years. So obviously hardware is smaller, it's cheaper, and it's easier to create high definition through these. Also, a lot of these are plug and play. So you literally can just plug in a webcam, record on any device, your laptop, your mobile device, and then you're able to share that across your organization. Also, the workflow is much better. When you would create videos, it used to be a manual process. As I said, for example, tagging, now you don't because there's search. Or perhaps how do you organize this? Basically, all you need to do now is press record, present, stop, and everything else is done for you. So it's made it very easy for learning professionals today to make very quick DIY learning videos. So the next trend is millennials. As of 2015, they are the biggest part of your workforce. And you know what? They love video and they expect it. So, let me scroll that down. So 4 out of 5 millennials who have graduated in higher education will have used video in their learning. 80% of universities use lecture capture video for teaching. And so one of the things we have to look at doing is bridging the gap for all these new graduates or millennials on how to bring university learning into corporate learning, and doing so through video. The next enabling trend for video is the flipped classroom. Now this was born from education and has been one of the most successful learning trends in decades. So basically what you're doing from an education standpoint is you're taking the traditional lecture and you're recording it. And then students are watching that and then they're meeting together, either individually or together, to then discuss the topic or to interact in some way. So this has really changed things up from where people would sit, someone would present, and then maybe there was a few minutes for questions and answers. This has completely removed that from there. So how does this affect you in corporate? How this will affect you, for example, is flipping the meeting. So, for example, instead of someone presenting for an hour on some topic and then opening the floor for debate, the meeting's recorded ahead of time so that when you come to the meeting, you're able to have notes prepared to discuss or debate the topics of interest. So this has really transformed the way that people will communicate and has improved the efficiency of the videos. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you give your employees a choice to perhaps have a handbook or a video, regardless of the topic, they're most likely going to pick the video. This is because many people find that it's more engaging, it's easier to illustrate complex or difficult topics, and they're also able to retain the knowledge better. So now that things have changed in the market and video is much more accessible and easy to use, we need to adapt to the change and to meet the needs of the new trends, the demographics, and to try to incorporate video, obviously using the six types of ways that you can use video in your company, as well as using the 5 enabling trends to encourage video at your company. I'm now going to open the floor for some questions. I realize I sped through that. I'm American, I speak really fast. I have a microphone, so people have questions. If not, again, I'm at S6 if you want to come by and talk about how this could work at your company. Any questions on the floor? Someone want to stump me with some trivia? No, we're okay? Perfect, thank you. Again, at S6. Thank you very much.